This is the QNUT electric bike, and I decided to talk about it because I have been looking for something to take the edge off my daily ride without turning cycling into a full workout. I wanted a bike that looks like a regular mountain-style bike, does not weigh a ton, and gives me a smooth boost on the way to work and back. After a few weeks of living with it day to day, I have a clear feel for where it shines and where it asks for a little patience. I see this as an entry-level electric mountain-style commuter. It borrows the look of a trail bike, but it is really built for pavement, bike paths, and hard-packed gravel. It is aimed at riders like me who want practical help on hills and longer stretches without diving into expensive boutique brands. It is also a very approachable option for teenagers and for new riders who might be nervous about heavy fat tire models. It is not for rough trails with big roots and drops. It is for getting around town with a grin. My setup process was pretty simple, but it did require attention. Getting it out of the box and ride ready took me about an hour at an easy pace. The front wheel uses a quick release. I always check that lever before each ride now, just to make sure it is fully snug. The left pedal threads in the opposite direction, and that is the one step that can trip people up, so I took my time and started threading it by hand. The brakes needed a small tweak out of the box. I centered the front caliper so the rotor would spin cleanly, and that got rid of the scraping sound. None of this was complicated, but it is worth saying that this is not a take it out and ride with zero adjustment kind of bike. On the road, the power delivery feels friendly and predictable once you learn its rhythm. The rated motor is 350 watts with a claim of up to 750 watts peak, and it is mounted in the rear wheel. On flat streets, pedal assist brings me up to around 20 miles per hour without drama. Using the throttle to get rolling from a stop is super handy at traffic lights. The pedal assist uses a cadence sensor, so it turns the power on as soon as it senses the cranks moving and turns it off when I stop. There is a small delay when it kicks in and when it cuts out, which is normal for this type of system. It took a day to get used to it, and now I instinctively feather the brakes when I want the motor to stop immediately, like during a tight U-turn on a narrow path. Climbing is a mixed bag and very dependent on the hill. On gentle grades, the bike breezes up with light pedaling. On steeper hills, I need to downshift and actually contribute. The assist helps, but it is not magic. If I try to throttle up a long, steep climb without pedaling, the speed drops and the motor feels like it is working hard. When I add effort in the lowest gears, it climbs without complaint. That is where the 21-speed setup matters. It gives me a true bailout gear to keep the cranks turning and keep the motor in a happier place. The battery is removable and easy to charge indoors. I get a realistic range that depends on how and where I ride. On flat rides where I pedal along in lower assist, the battery lasts a long time. On hilly days with a lot of throttle starts, I see the battery bars move more quickly, and sometimes the gauge bounces down on a climb and pops back up on flat ground. That is pretty common for smaller battery packs. My takeaway is simple. If I ride with some mechanical sympathy, ease into climbs, and use the gears, the range is solid. If I treat it like a silent scooter, the range shrinks. Comfort-wise, the front suspension softens potholes and cracked pavement, but it is a basic fork. It takes the sting out of sharp bumps, and that is all I really expect at this price point. I would not take it through rocky trails at speed. The stock saddle was too firm for me. After a couple of 20-minute rides, I felt pressure, so I swapped to a wider seat with gel padding, and that fixed it. The handlebar position is nicely upright, which helps with visibility in traffic. The grips are basic and fine for shorter rides. I might upgrade those later. Braking feels steady and consistent once dialed in. These are mechanical disc brakes, so they use cables. They do the job in dry conditions and slow the bike confidently. In the rain, I need a little more lever pull. I plan to check pad wear every few weeks and give the barrel adjusters a small turn when the lever travel gets long. That is normal upkeep with cable brakes. I did get a squeal after a wet ride, which went away after a couple of firm stops on a dry day. Handling is where this bike surprised me in a good way. The 26-inch wheels make it nimble and easy to weave through tight spots. It feels lighter on its feet than the big fat tire electric bikes I have tried. The tires that come on it have small knobs and roll fine on pavement, but I could feel a little buzz and hear some hum. I swapped to semi-slick tires, and the bike immediately felt faster and quieter, and the battery held on a bit longer because of the lower rolling resistance. If you are going to ride mostly on streets, that is a cheap and worthwhile upgrade. The liquid crystal display is simple but useful. I can see speed, assist level, and battery at a glance. The controls are easy enough to use with gloves. I like that the cables are routed cleanly, and the battery integrates into the downtube area, so it looks tidy and not like an afterthought. The bike gets compliments, which is always a nice bonus when you lock it outside the cafe. The biggest benefits for me are pretty straightforward. It makes my commute faster without making me sweaty, which means I can ride in regular clothes and still feel presentable when I arrive. It is genuinely easy to live with. The removable battery and the simple controls make charging and daily use a no-brainer. and it rides like a normal bike when I want to pedal without assist, thanks to the many gears and the reasonable weight compared to heavier electric models. Compared with my old non-electric city bike, this QNUT makes longer routes feel shorter and turns windy days into no big deal. Compared with the more expensive mid-drive bikes I have tested, this one has less torque and the assist is not as perfectly smooth, but it also costs a lot less and is much easier to set up and maintain at home. Compared with the very heavy fat tire electric bikes, the QNUT feels much more manageable on stairs and way more nimble on narrow paths, but it does not float over gravel with the same couch-like feel. That trade-off makes sense for how I ride, so is it worth it? For someone who wants an approachable, good-looking, just get on and ride electric bike for commuting, campus, or errands, I would say yes. It delivers honest utility and a fun ride as long as you keep expectations grounded. It likes pavement, it likes steady pedaling on steeper hills, and it rewards a little basic maintenance with quiet, dependable miles. If you live somewhere very hilly or you want to ride fast without pedaling, you might want a bigger battery and a more powerful system. If you ride mostly flat routes and want an affordable way to add assist to your day, this gets the job done. That is my experience with the QNUT electric bike. If you have questions I did not cover, drop them in the comments and I will do my best to help. If this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next one. Thank you for watching.